Hello my bookish lovelies, Kira here, and today I'm going to be doing a book haul. It has been a while since I've done one of these. Basically, like, quarantine has pretty much left me with buying books because, like, right now, like, you can't really go out and do anything. Like, you can't, like, really go out, you know, like, and go to movies very much. I mean, we're lucky because we have a local drive-in, but they're not really playing anything new. There's really no new movies coming out right now, aside from, like, the stuff that they decide to let go early, like, either on Netflix or somewhere else. And so, like, in order to get new stuff, you know, it's just like books are pretty much the option, which, you know, has been reflected, I feel like, in some of the prices. So a couple months back, there was a really good deal at Target. They had that buy two get one free again, which really brings down the average of price of each book. So I ended up kind of buying a few things from them. And then also, in the scheme of things, a book like for a really good price, like I ended up getting it like from another website. So I kind of splurged like a little bit. Probably quite a bit, but mainly because, like, really, like, there's not really anything to do right now besides kind of sit home and read books. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get into the book haul. So one of the first things that I got from Book Depository is called The Skinful of Shadows by Frances Hardinge. So I believe that this is a YA book, but what really drew me to like this is this beautiful, beautiful cover. Like, I am just really obsessed like with this. This is actually the UK cover. They don't have this cover in the US. It's just, it's so, so pretty. I love the owls. Like, the owls are just gorgeous on this. And then underneath the cover, they actually have like this beautiful imprint on the cover, like, which really is reflective of the dust jacket. Basically, this is about 12-year-old Makepeace, I believe the name is, and she ends up being possessed by a spirit. But in the scheme of things, she ends up getting sent to her rich father's house, and there's a war that's brewing, and the spirit that possesses her is very, very strong, and so she has a choice to make either between possession or death. I haven't actually read anything by Frances Hardinge yet, but I've heard wonderful things about her, and I am really excited about this. This book is beautiful. The next book that I have is called Freshwater, and this book is basically about a young girl, and I believe it has something to do like with multiple personalities. I know that I've heard really good things about this, and I found it for a really good price on Target at Target.com. It says, "We came from somewhere, everything does. When the transition is made from spirit to flesh, the gates are meant to be closed. It's a kindness. It would be cruel not to. Perhaps the gods forgot they can be absent-minded like that." I've heard like that this is extremely emotional, extremely brilliant, and this actually takes place around Ada, who is an infant born in Nigeria with one foot on either side of the living and the dead, I believe. And so I'm not like really 100% sure exactly like all the details about this, but that's part of the fun of discovering new books, is not knowing all the details. The next books that I got are Empire's Silence by Christopher Rico and Howling Dark, which is the second book, and they're actually going to be getting ready to come out with the third book. These are really thick books. These are actually space opera books, and I've heard a lot of people talking about them. I am obsessed with these covers. I actually first heard about these books from Holly Hart's books. She actually read this one and loved it, and they are getting ready to come out with a third one, I think sometime like later on, probably like next month or so. I'm just anxiously awaiting it because I love these covers. They're very, very pretty, very artistic, reflective of the space opera that they are. This is actually called the Sun Eater series, and I'm not too sure like what it's about. So essentially, like, what these books are about is like this guy, he was actually remembered as a hero, but he's actually a monster, so he's not a good person, and he ends up having to flee, and in the scheme of things, he ends up having to become a gladiator. So this is kind of like gladiator space opera like kind of book, and it just sounds fantastic. So I knew like that I had to get it. I'm just really excited because I actually do like gladiators and like the action and, you know, like being in the throes of it. So I'm very excited for these. Like once again, adult space opera, like gladiator series. The next book that I got, I can't remember if I hauled this, it's actually called Shorefall by Robert Jackson Bennett. This is actually the sequel to Foundry Side. This is another like one with a beautiful cover. I love this cover so much. What these books are about, like, they're kind of like steampunk, I believe, but fantasy. And so like, I mean, I'm kind of interested like in the weaving of those two things together. I've heard some mixed reviews, but overall, like, I'm really intrigued because sometimes like crafting worlds like that are really like different is like difficult, and I'm wondering like how he handles like everything with this. So I'm really excited for this book as well. The next book that I got is actually by N.K. Jemisin. This is The City We Became. This is about like this young grad student who ends up falling asleep and wakes up and doesn't know who they are. There's strange graffiti like all over Manhattan. It is considered, I believe, a science fiction fantasy, but it's kind of set like in an alternate, I believe, like Manhattan. So I mean, that's really intriguing, and this cover once again is just brilliant and beautiful, and there's been so many beautiful covers like that I've been obsessing like big time. So the Black Lives Matter movement has been going on, it's still going on, and I actually ended up investing in quite a few nonfiction books so that I could be better educated about Black history in America and Black history in general, and all the racism like that happens like, you know, within it. So I actually ended up getting a lot of books regarding that. So I'm going to show you guys which ones I got. I ended up getting Stamped from the Beginning by Abram and Kendi. And this is the definitive history of racist ideas in America. This book is huge, so it's going to be very, very complete as far as like that goes. Like, there's going to be a lot of details in this, but this was one that I knew I had to get. The other book that I got is When They Call You a Terrorist, a Black Lives Matter memoir by Patrice Khan-Kalors and Asha Bundali. And this is just a little, this little book, but it's a, so the tagline for this says, "More than just a reflection on the American criminal justice system, a call to action for readers to change culture." So this is about condemned as terrorists and as a threat to America, these loving women founded a hashtag birthed the movement to demand accountability from the authorities who continually turned a blind eye to the injustices inflicted upon people of black and brown skin. So this is about like human rights, and it's got like a lot of memoirs, like a lot of reflection. The next book that I got is Why Are All the Black Kids Sitting Together in the Cafeteria? And Other Conversations About Race. This is the 20th anniversary edition. This is another like one that got a lot of really good reviews. I'm still working my way through them. I actually ended up getting also White Rage, which I will leave a picture of. I have it like in my read pile and not like my to read pile, so like it wasn't as easy to get to, but I also got that one and I read it, and that one was really amazing as well. The other book that I got is The Color of Law, A Forgotten History of How Our Government Segregated America, and this was another one that I got, and I'm really excited for this as well. There was a lot of nonfiction books that I was looking at, and I'm slowly working my way through them. So the next book that I got is called Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reid. I've seen this book around, and I think this book is beautiful. I saw the UK cover. I was not as big of a fan of that one, but this is just plain out gorgeous. This is about Alex Chamberlain, and she is babysitting one night, and she has to run out with the kids, and somebody sees her with the kids and accuses her of kidnapping them, and she gets, you know, framed for that crime. And like, I think this is like just a journey of her, like, you know, trying to prove her innocence, and it sounds wonderful. I know like a lot of people have read this and have really enjoyed it, so I'm really excited about this. I believe this is adult contemporary fiction. So in the scheme of things, because like I've been wanting to read a lot more nonfiction books, I actually ended up buying The Prettiest Star by Carter Sickles, and this is an LGBTQIA plus memoir about Brian Jackson. This actually takes place in 1986, and his lover has been claimed by AIDS. But in the scheme of things, I believe that he is also HIV positive, and I guess he decides to try to go back home to live out the rest of his days with HIV AIDS, because I believe back in 1986, like, the treatments for HIV AIDS is not as good as it is now, and they didn't like have a lot of treatments back then. I actually saw this was recommended on Goodreads as far as being like one of the highly like shelved books like for the LGBTQIA nonfiction memoirs, and so I saw this and I was just like, I'm really interested in this because it sounds like it's going to be a very heartbreaking and beautiful story. And of course we all know that I enjoy breaking my heart over and over again, which is like why I like all these hard-hitting contemporaries and everything else. So I'm very excited for this. I know this is like not a book like that a lot of people have really talked about, but aside from like Goodreads, I haven't seen this book anywhere, but it sounds wonderful and the ratings for it were really good. So the next book that I got is The Sound of Stars by Alicia Dow, and this book, not only is this book just absolutely stunning. I love like how like it's kind of has like that beautiful tie-dye look to it. But this is also about a 17-year-old girl who their civilization has been invaded by aliens, and they kind of created reservations for humans. It's almost like, I read like a little bit of the beginning, and it was almost like this was a it felt like more like of a concentration camp for humans is what it felt like. And the aliens like had their own separate area, like where they were studying humans and experimenting and doing science and stuff like that. Basically, like, this is all about this girl who, you know, she's hoarding books, and she's, you know, trying to be herself and, you know, experience like the love of things that she used to love in this situation when things are not good. So in the midst of everything, one of the aliens finds out that she has this hidden library, and instead of like being, you know, cruel like and reporting her and getting her killed and punished for something like this, he actually becomes very enamored with her and very fascinated. And I guess like this is about like how music can save the world. As far as like that goes, like I don't know how accurate like my description was, because like I want to experience this in full for myself, but it sounded wonderful and like a beautiful journey, and I am very excited for it. It's a YA science fiction book, and it sounds wonderful. So the next book that I got is Blood Will Out by Joe Tagari, and this is a science fiction, I believe like horror book, and it's actually like more of an indie published book. And basically like this girl like wakes up at the bottom of a cistern, and her killer is coming to get her. But being the fact that her community has turned very dangerous, she is not the only one that is at risk here. Her entire community is at risk. I actually heard about this book from Break Even Books, and he read this and really loved it, so I got really interested in it, especially like after I read the premise for it. So very excited about that one. Another book that I ended up getting was one that I had been meaning to read for like a very long time. It's called Blood and Chocolate by Annette Curtis Claus, and they actually have a movie that is called Blood and Chocolate. I actually rewatched it during like the whole stay at home, and I am just really obsessed with that movie. It's not like it's the best movie in the entire world, because it's not. It's just like it was the first movie that I ever heard like them use loup-garou instead of werewolf. This is a young adult book about werewolves, and I heard the book is radically different from the movie. And I love the movie so much, I'm kind of curious like to know, you know, like about this. I've heard this is actually better than the movie, and I really love the movie because like it's just, I don't know, it's just like that, it's kind of like a B movie. I would consider it like a late 90s, early 2000s B movie that has werewolves in it, like, and it's got like a romance and everything too, which I, you know, really love. I'm actually like wanting to get more into werewolf books, because I read so many vampire books. I kind of want a little bit of variety, so I figured like I would be able to do that with this. Another book that I ended up getting is the Abercrombie's A Little Hatred. This is actually in the First Law trilogy. I'm sorry, First Law World. So I recently read the First Law trilogy, and I did like a full review on that and everything, and it was so good. Especially like book 3, because this is like one of those that builds on each other, and like you have to like have them, you know, you basically have to like be in the world to really appreciate what the world is. But from what I heard, and I heard like this with Kasara's channel, she said like that this book has the main character of the daughter of my favorite character in that trilogy, which is Sans Alglaka. And this is supposed to be circulating around Sans Alglaka's daughter. And I am so curious because Glaka is like one of my favorite characters literally of all time after reading that. And so I'm really curious to see like how conniving she is in comparison like to her father, because her mother is pretty conniving too and very intelligent. So I'm very excited for this. I actually like, I still have 3 more books to read in this world before I read this one, but I just know like that I'm gonna have to read all of these books, so I have, you know, I have no qualms like with buying a little bit ahead so that like I have it here for when I'm ready to start it. So another book that I ended up getting, and I got this one I believe in my Illumicrate for June, it was The Court of Miracles by Kester Grant. This book is stunning. This is I believe this is considered the UK cover. I think Waterstones use this cover also, but I believe like this is about a girl who goes to the Court of Miracles, like which is a place for thieves, and she kind of becomes a thief herself. Every time I think of the Court of Miracles, I think of Disney's Hunchback of Notre Dame, and they had the Court of Miracles for which was an underground area, like where they had like all the thieves and like on all the outcasts of society. And so I'm really kind of curious because like I've heard really good things about this, so I'm really happy that this was in my Owl Crate box. So another book that I actually got, Dragon from Backlist Books actually sent this to me. It's a science fiction. It's called The Young Miles by Louis McMaster Bijold. And this is like one of those, it looks like it's an 80s style science fiction book. And it's the beginning of Warlord, War-Torn Planet. Barrier wasn't easy. Being an officer in Barrier's military wasn't easy. I believe that this is like all circulating like around this guy named, of course, like Miles. But he is kind of an outcast from his military academy, but the fact of it is he has really good leadership skills. He ended up offhandedly acquiring a fleet of 19 ships to command. I'm honestly like, the main like reason she sent this to me was because this is like one of her all-time favorite science fictions. So thank you so much, Dragon from Backlist Books. I am very excited for this. I'm always like looking to explore new types of books. So this is the next book like that I got from Owl Crate, I believe a few months ago, and it's called Witchy by Ariel Salmet Reyes. I haven't gotten a chance to read this yet, but it is actually, they included a graphic novel in their book box, and I was really excited for that. I don't really know anything about this. I just know it is about a witch. It says one of the taglines is, "Witchy, like the very best fantasy, serves up the world you want to visit and fills it with people you want to know. It gives you a wonder system of magic and links it inextricably to the characters' real, relatable problems. There's so much love. In the Witch Kingdom Highland, the strength of your magic is determined by the length of your hair. Those are strong enough are conscripted by the Witch Guard, who enforce the law in peacetime and protect the land during war. However, those with hair judged too long are pronounced enemies of the kingdom and annihilated." This sounds wonderful. Like, this just sounds so different. So the next book I got because like it kind of it's another one of those books that spins the chosen one trope on its head. It's called The Master of Sorrow by Justin T. Call. This is the first in the series. They are going to be coming out with more of these. Once again, part of the reason I bought this is because of the cover. This is so pretty. And it's also another really thick book. This is an adult fantasy book, but this is about somebody that is prophesized to be the Dark Lord. So he's not just supposed to be like the chosen one. He's supposed to be the enemy, like the enemy of this kingdom. And so we get to follow him in this, which is kind of like why it's called Master of Sorrows. But that was just so intriguing. I really love books about bad guys, because I feel like their character arc is just usually tends to be so much more fascinating than the good guys. Because the good guys are all like, oh, I'm going to do this the right way. But like the bad guys are like, no, we're not going to do this the right way. We're going to do this my way. So that tends to make things very interesting. So I am so excited for this. I think this is going to be brilliant. Also, I ended up accidentally getting 2 copies of the same book. One was because of a pre-order, and then the other one was because I got it from a book box. So this is actually the Owl Crate exclusive version of Incendiary by and this is the regular version of it. Both of these covers are absolutely gorgeous. Actually, like, this is another cover by. I am so obsessed. I'm going to give you guys like a closer look at this one. This is just so pretty. Once again, yes. And the tagline for this is, "I'm Renata Cordiva. I have lived 100 stolen lives. Now I live my own." An epic and spellbinding fantasy, Incendiary is a dark, rich tapestry of twisted magic, deadly consequences, and riveting stakes. No one should get between Renata Cordiva and what she wants. They might not make it out alive. And that was a tagline by Danielle Clayton. So I'm very excited. These books are so big. But these are like another one of those fantasy books and the beginning of a fantasy series like that I am just super, super, super excited about. So yes, I This is going to be wonderful. I try to prioritize like series like that are already finished, but I like having the book just in case I'm like, because sometimes I get sick of waiting for the other books to come out, and then I just was like, okay, I'll just go ahead and read those. So I have it for when I want to start this series. So I ended up getting a few other books. This is called True Life by J. Kristoff. This is book 3 in the Lifelike series. And this basically is a YA science fiction series by J. Kristoff. This is about a post-apocalyptic world that is filled with trash, and they had robots like that came off really, really realistic, but something happened and they got outlawed and most of them disappeared. This is the 3rd and final book in the series. I read the first one, I have the second one, I meant to get to that, but the 3rd one's finally here, so I'm going to be able to prioritize the series soon so that I can get into it, because I actually really enjoyed the first one. Like, I thought it was a really interesting premise. Of course, it is YA, so it's not like, you know, super like space opera-y or anything like that, but it was still really enjoyable, so I'm very excited to continue on with this series as well. Also, I ended up getting book 4. This is pretty much the prequel of The Hunger Games. It's called The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. This is following all about President Snow, and it follows, like, I believe from the 10th Hunger Games on. If you guys remember, Hunger Games actually took place around the 75th Hunger Games. So this is pretty much like of him being in power for like 60 something years, 60 plus years, and pretty much like the progression of the Hunger Games from almost the beginning of the Hunger Games to like towards the end of the Hunger Games. So I'm very curious about this too. This has been a very polarizing book for a lot of people from what I've seen. So I'm kind of curious, like, to know, like, you know, if this is going to be my cup of tea. The book that I got is by Kaylin Barron. It's called Cinderella is Dead. And basically, like, this is a tyrannical kingdom that forces these girls, like, to go and be suitors for princes. And this girl, like, gets really, really sick of it, so she wanders out into the cemetery and realizes that she is in the mausoleum of Cinderella, who has been dead for a very long time. And then hanging out in the mausoleum, ironically enough, is one of Cinderella's descendants. So basically, they're trying to find a way to stop these kinds of things from happening, so that they can have a freedom, like, to also marry whoever they want and not be paraded around as married subjects. Or subjects like that you're able to marry. So I've heard amazing things about this. I'm so really excited. Another book that I got is You Should See Me in a Crown by Lee Johnson. I'm so excited about this one. This one has LGBTQIA rep. Basically, like, she is fighting to get a scholarship so that she can go to college. I've heard so many people say that this is one of those really good feel-good YA books, and I'm really excited for this. This has getting a lot of hype, and I think it's going to be wonderful. So the next book that I got is Hunted by the Sky by Tanez Bathina. This is another absolutely stunning book. Like, I am so obsessed with this cover. It's so pretty. So this is about a girl named Ghoul, and she has this star birthmark, and people with this star birthmark have been disappearing in her kingdom for years, and nobody knows what's happening to them. There's this guy named Cavis, and he has a terminally ill father, and Cavis is about ready to sign his life over to him so that he can become a soldier, when he meets a mysterious girl that he becomes completely enchanted by. So this is also the beginning of a series, and I'm so excited because, like, this also sounds really, really brilliant, and the book's beautiful. So another book that I got is one that has been getting a lot of hype also. It's The Following in Love Montage by Sierra Smith. This is a sapphic YA romance. It's girl meets girl, girl dates girl. It's totally a foolproof plan, and this is a YA rom-com about two girls that meet each other. I believe, like, that this is a summer romance, like, that actually becomes a romance. One of the girls, like, she has Alzheimer's in her family, and she's really, like, and she kind of sees, like, herself as one day becoming like this person that has Alzheimer's, and so she's kind of, like, you know, very not into love. So she meets this girl who is very into love and very positive, and it goes from, like, hey, you know, like, let's kind of start seeing each other, and I get the feeling like that it becomes, like, a lot more. It's very touching. I've heard so many wonderful things about this, and the cover is just gorgeous. So another nonfiction book that I picked up because I was looking at more, like, LGBTQIA nonfiction books, like, that I could pick up. This is called The Gay Agenda, A Modern Queer History and Handbook. This is actually another book that I discovered through Goodreads, and this book is stunning. So we have this beautiful, beautiful cover. Like, it's actually printed like on the hardback. There is no dust jacket, but this book is just gorgeous. If you follow me on Instagram, like, I actually showed off this book, but look at these end papers. Oh my goodness. These end papers are just so fun and so beautiful. I'm coming out. I love that too. Oh, it's so pretty. But this is actually like a full color book. And it's got like pretty much like a lot of history for the LGBTQIA community. I saw this and I just knew I had to have it. I just wasn't realizing like that this book was going to be so stinking beautiful. So I'm very excited like to get to this as well. I think it's going to be wonderful, and you know, I always like learning new things. So the next book that I got is called Agnes at the End of the World by Kelly McWilliams. So this is going to be kind of an interesting book. Like, basically, like, Agnes lives in this kind of cult scenario, and she has to keep smuggling in treatment for her diabetic relative, and treatments and medical advances are considered a sin. Now, the prophet who's in charge of this cult is becoming more and more dangerous and more volatile. She feels like that she runs the risk of getting prosecuted for everything that she's trying to do, like to save her family's life. This actually has been pitched as a mixture of The Handmaid's Tale and Fans of the Wilder Girls. So, and once again, this cover is also just so stunning. Like, there's so many pretty covers right now. The next book that I got that has been getting a lot of positivity is Camp by Elsie Rosen. This is an LGBTQIA book, young adult, contemporary. Either this is another one of those feel-good, kind of like rom-com, like summer romances, and I'm so excited about this. Basically, like, it's about this boy who has this crush on this other boy who doesn't even know he exists, and I believe it's like, you know, like his getting to like becoming like more aware, and, you know, taking part like in this summer camp musical. From what I've heard, like, this is going to be absolutely brilliant. I'm so excited for this one. I really need to read it soon. But I love feel-good books, and this is definitely going to be for that. And we know right now, like, with everything like going on, we need feel-good books. So the next book I actually got it because I saw it on the Paper Travelers YouTube channel. She done a haul. She read it and she said it was really good, so I figured it was worth buying, because not only is it a beautiful, beautiful book, but it's also, like, actually, from what she said, really good. So this is actually called Mermaid Moon by Susan Corkell. So this book is just so reminiscent of high fantasy, and it has these beautiful turquoise sprayed edges. But what really drew me to this book was what was underneath. This book is absolutely stunning. I am in love with this book. We have beautiful flowers like on both sides of this, and I am just so enamored with this whole book. It is just absolutely gorgeous. So this almost kind of sounds like a retelling of The Little Mermaid, like, a little bit, except our main character actually fashions legs for herself and decides to go on shore. If you guys can already tell, like, this is the story about a mermaid, but she's trying to look for answers. There was a witch when she was a young girl, like, that cast a spell on her and her entire city, that forgot that she was even born. So she actually fashions legs for herself to go offshore to look for the witch to see if she can try to break the spell. That's kind of like the impression I got of this, but it sounds so wonderful. And I actually don't read a ton of books about mermaids, so I really was very intrigued by this when I heard about it, so I'm very excited. So the remainder of this haul is basically going to be all adult contemporary romances. So I've got quite a few of those, because, like, being the fact that I've been super like bummed out, like, with everything that's going on, I was just like, you know, they had when Target like had their sale, like, I'm just like, well, you know what, maybe I should just go ahead and like go and get, like, you know, more romances so that I have them on hand, like, for when I'm having like a really bad time, because once again, like, I've been needing like a lot of pick-me-ups. So one of the books that I ended up getting is The Boyfriend Material by Alexis Hall. And this is actually, like, for fans of the Red, White, and Royal Blue, except, like, this all, I believe, takes place in London. and it has like a very kind of similar feel. It's like it has a fake dating trope, but it's like fake to real dating trope. And I've heard so many wonderful things about this so far. Like a lot of people have really loved this who have read it, and I am so excited. It's I believe it's a new adult LGBTQIA romance between two men. So I'm very excited about that also. I think this is going to be great. The next book that I have is Sanjay Patel, The Trouble with Hating You. I believe that this has got an arranged marriage trope in it between Laya, who is a biochemical engineer, and Jay, who is a lawyer. And so he kind of seems like he's the perfect guy for her, but like she really just doesn't want to get married. Like at all costs, she's trying to avoid getting married. So this is kind of like, you know, I mean, being the fact that it's an adult romance, like I feel like this is going to be like a lot of fun as far as like, you know, oh, I don't want you, but I kind of want you, and like this very like torn feelings and stuff. So I'm very excited for that as well. The next book, I actually read the other book, I think like towards the end of last year, and so when I saw that this was coming out, I was really excited. It's called Take a Hint, Danny Brown. This is the sequel to Get a Life, Chloe Brown. And I loved Get a Life, Chloe Brown so much. It had an illness rep and everything, and I've actually like seen a lot of really positive things for this as well. So I'm super excited. I think this is going to be so good. So Danica Brown, who's also known as Danny Brown, she wants success. She wants a career. She doesn't really want romance. But, you know, of course, this being a romance book, like, she ends up finding romance, you know, like, when she least expects it. So I'm so excited to get to this one. I want, like, all the feel-good stuff, like, right now. So this is another book, like, that has, I believe that, I think this might be an indie published book. It's called By a Thread by Lucy Score. It's actually like right here at the top, it says a grumpy boss romantic comedy. So actually like the boss Dominic gets this girl fired, and the girl has to go like work somewhere else, but he ends up, I guess, like getting kind of having a thing for her. And this feels like this is gonna be like a very hate to love. Actually, like on Goodreads, I believe this got a 4.5 out of 5 stars, like, which is like one of the reasons like why I wanted to dig into it. I think this is just gonna be just such a good book. Because like everything that I've heard about this is actually not one of the ones like that I've heard too much anybody talk about on YouTube, at least like not of any of the channels that I watch, but I'm so excited. I think this is going to be wonderful. So the next book I got like has also been getting a lot of positive hype is The Bromance Book Club by Lissa K. Adams. So basically like there is this professional sports athlete, and he messed up. He messed up big time, and his wife's ready to divorce him, and his friends end up having him join a romance book club, like where I believe they read romance novels, and they're kind of like trying like to relearn like how to, you know, woo women and romance like their wives and stuff. And so like this is kind of like the main character's finding himself and trying to make his way back to the woman that he loves in spite of the mistakes that he's made. So this sounds wonderful. The next book that I have is by Mahari McFarlane, If I Never Met You. If fake dating is this easy, how do you know when it's real? Like this is about a girl named Lori. Her partner ends things, and not too long after he ends things, she finds out like that his new partner is now pregnant, and so she kind of has to deal like with that embarrassment. But at the same time, like there's also this other character, Jamie, who is very successful, and he needs a smart, steady girlfriend to kind of impress his bosses with. So it's kind of like this, you know, so he's trying to get a promotion, and so him and Jamie kind of come to an agreement that they are going to help each other, you know, like her with the embarrassment of everything that she's had to deal like with, and then also him having to impress his bosses. So I think this is going to be absolutely wonderful. So the next book that I got is Happily Ever After Playlist by Abby Jimenez. And basically like this is about Salome, who 2 years after losing her fiance comes across this dog, and she ends up falling in love with the dog, and she's been trying to reach out to the owner for like, it takes her like a couple of weeks, and she ends up really falling for the dog. She loves the companionship. She's kind of alone, you know, very lonely, and the owner finally reaches out and ends up wanting the dog back, and so she's kind of upset, you know, like, hey, it took you like 2 weeks or whatever. But then she ends up like getting like to know the owner, and she ends up kind of like having a thing with him. So I've heard wonderful things about this also, and I'm Another one I'm very excited about. There's so many of these to be excited about though. So the next book that I got is You Deserve Each Other by Sarah Hoggle. This has been getting a lot of really positive reviews, and it's been tagged as when your nemesis also happens to be your fiance, happily ever after becomes a lot more complicated in this wickedly funny lovers to enemies to lovers romantic comedy debut. Well, Naomi is the perfect fiance, and Nicholas, you know, he's perfect also, and he also opened doors for her and everything, and they were getting ready to get married, and they decide to call it off. Now, there's a trick to this though, because like she doesn't want to go through with it, but whoever calls off the wedding has to foot the bill, and they're already almost done like with everything that they have to do for prepping for the wedding. So it's pretty much like a hilarious like thing of them trying to figure out how to get the other one to call it off. I wonder like if this is gonna be like how to love a guy in like in 10 days, like where like, you know, she kind of like acts like really crazy, you know, like to try to get him like to not fall in love with her, but like at the same time like there's other things like happening, and so I kind of get vibes like that from this. I'm really like, this just sounded so wonderful, and it's gotten so many good reviews. So the next thing that I got is The Honeymooners by Christina Lauren. I have been wanting to read some books by her, and I was trying to hold off like buying like any more because I actually do have a couple other books like that I haven't gotten to her by her yet. And I was gonna hold off, but I ended up getting this book because the reviews on it were just so out of this world wonderful. So Olive ends up getting stuck with her arch nemesis, who is the best man named Ethan, and pretty much everybody in the wedding party besides her and Ethan end up getting food poisoning. So there is now a free honeymoon up for grabs, and her and Ethan end up going on this honeymoon together. And like, enemies to lovers tropes are just so much fun as long as like they're done appropriately and like with enough space like that I can experience relationships. That's what I always struggle like with, because as long as I do it like towards like the beginning, like where I can get feelings for like for the relationship too, I feel like that's really important. So I'm really excited for that. So the next book is called In 5 Years by Rebecca Serrell, and I believe like this is about a woman who goes to sleep in one life and wakes up in another, and she sees like where her life would have been, you know, in 5 years, like had she taken a different route. I believe like this is a romance, but she ends up so like there's this guy like that she dreamed about, you know, being with a while back, and I guess she gave it up for her career. And then when she wakes up like, you know, like in the different apartment, different life, she ends up like living differently, and she ends up seeing her life, what it could have been with him. So I'm really extremely intrigued by this, and this is another book that I've heard really amazing things about. So the last adult contemporary romance like that I got is The Flat Share by Beth O'Leary. This is another one that's gotten a lot of really great hype. So basically you have these people like that are sharing one single flat, and one of them works, I believe he works at night and she works during the day. So like they never actually see each other very much, and majority of this I believe is from letters, you know, like back and forth, but it's also a romance, and I've heard it's wonderful, and you know, gotta love the romance books. Well guys, I hope you guys like this video. If you guys like this video, hit the like and subscribe with the little bell icon if you guys want to receive emails every single time I post. I'm also on Instagram, Amazon, Twitter, and Goodreads. Those links are linked in the description below. If you guys see anything that you guys would be interested in buddy reading with me, let me know and comment down below. Also, if you guys like this video, just comment, okay? Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys again very soon.